you're in a good place now. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, we're going to be talking about preschool, communication, and connection with our kids. You know, it's interesting when we really connect with our children, we can really have an understanding, a greater understanding, and have them be able to understand themselves and their emotions and have more clarity. You know, one of the biggest things, though, is school. We go into school, and as kids, we went to preschool, and preschool is one of those formative times in our life that is extremely important, extremely formative, but it has to be done right. And if it's done right and children feel comfortable and parents feel comfortable, it's a win-win. And that's what's so important, is that connection. And I know that, leaving your children in school and letting them go, and if you've been connected with them for years and you can't believe that they have to go to school for several hours, it can be overwhelming. But if they're in a place that's safe and that you know that somebody cares about them, that could change everything. Joining me today is Jeanette Crystal Bradley. Jeanette is a children's author, who has written her book, The First 12 Days of Preschool, and probably has many other books up her sleeve at this point too, and has recently, in the last 25 years, opened her own preschool. And this is really phenomenal. So Jeanette, great to have you on Live Your True Life Perspectives. How are you doing?
Great. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here with you today, Ashley.
I love your book. So when I got it the other day, I was reading it. I love it. I think it's great. I love the illustrations. I love the entire concept of it. So tell me more about why you wrote the book in the first place. Because first of all, I always want to understand why authors write, because I like to hear about the muses, but I also like to hear about that kind of purpose that came out of this book.
Okay, great. So it did start 25 years ago. My oldest son, when he was 1.5, my neighbor and I, we had children that were due 3 days apart. When the kids were 1.5, we were out in the cul-de-sac talking and watching our children. And we were talking about what they're doing. And her daughter knew her colors. She was counting and learning her shapes. And my son didn't know any of those things. So she was telling me, you need to send your son to preschool. And so at that moment, I was just struck with this huge dilemma. He literally had never left me. At 1.5 years old, he had been with me his entire life. And so as parents, we want the very best for our children. And so I still wasn't ready to let him go with anyone, but I knew that he did need to go to preschool. So I said, okay, I'll just build him one. And that seemed like the only doable solution to me at that time. So we built a preschool, and now 25 years later, we just bought our own building. Very excited. And I have 3 grandchildren that attend here as well. So that's how the preschool got started. And the book got started because every year we do a couple of performances so the kids get to perform and show the parents what they've learned. During our Christmas performance one year, I was trying to think of how to make the show different, and I kept getting the song in my head, The 12 Days of Christmas. But I was thinking ladies dancing, lords are leaping, probably not the best option for 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. So while they were singing songs, I just started to pen the words to the first 12 days of preschool. And after a couple days, we finished the song and we sang it for the performance that year. And the kids loved it and the parents loved it. And I was so surprised at how much they really did love it. They would say, Miss Jeanette, sing it again, sing it again. And so that's how the song was birthed. And then we ended up putting it into the book.
I love it. And I love the music video, by the way.
Yes. So after we put it into the book, then I heard, put it into a song. And so we were able to go into the recording studio and record it with recording artist Lady Dang, and that was a huge privilege. So I'm on the song, my grandson is on the song, as well as my best friend's daughter. So that was so much fun. And then we had an awesome team come from LA, and they recorded very professionally this music video. And I know that they're creatives, they're artists. This is what they do. They've been doing it forever. And I said, I'm going to give you the option to do whatever you want, but I'm taking a stand when it comes to confetti. I want confetti in the video. So they said, okay, you'll get your confetti. But it's beautifully done. They did an excellent job.
That's awesome. And I love the fact that you bought and created a preschool, based on the fact that I understand it's hard to take your kids and, after they've been with you for these years and take them to a school and the worrying of, what is it like and what's going to happen and, is he going to be or is she going to be okay? I mean, those are some real serious worries for a lot of parents.
Exactly. And I'll never forget the moment in the cul-de-sac when I was faced with that dilemma. And I was struck with fear. Like, what do I do? As parents, we want the very best for our children, right? And we'll do crazy things to make sure that they get the very best. And so I never forget, ever, 25 years later, I will never forget the feeling that came over me, trying to figure out what to do for my son. How do I give him the very best, but make sure that he's safe at the same time? And so when I talk to parents, I will always think of that moment. And so I put myself in their shoes and I connect with each parent and I connect with each of the children. That is really key. And remembering that I wanted my son to be treated like he was special, that he was valuable, that I cared about every hair on my son's head. And these parents, they feel the same way about their children. And so that is the foundation that I built the school on, is that we need to treat every child like they're special and valuable and loved, because they are.
Well, and it's true. It's about holding space for that child and also that creation of, life is tough. And if we can enter into this world and have people that are patient and aware of value, it really does help, because, going through childhood is challenging for all of us. I mean, we're adults talking about it, and trying to offset some of those things that can happen by being patient and observant and communication, and then seeing that child as being valuable is a big thing. And I think there's a lot. I know that teachers are overworked, and I know that our school systems are taxed, and I understand that, but I think that sometimes we kind of lose that in the shuffle.
Right. And I think it's so important to put ourselves in their shoes. Like, what's important to the parents has to be important to us, and what's important to the children has to be important to us. Like, we need to meet them where they are. For example, one night, one of our 2-year-olds left his stuffed puppy here, and he goes to sleep with that. He brought it here for nap, and then they went home, and it didn't go home. And so they called me, because all of my parents have my cell phone number, and they said, we need that stuffed puppy. And so on a Friday night, I left and came back to meet them. That doesn't make me a hero. It just says, yeah, I'm going to meet you where you're at, and I know that if he doesn't have his stuffed puppy, he's going to have a hard night and a hard weekend, and all I have to do is drive 10 minutes to just make sure that doesn't happen. And so that's a small sacrifice for something that's so important to a family and a child, right?
I think that's amazing. And you're right. It's not, it's 10 minutes, but it's the effort, but it's also the thought behind it is, okay, I know that this child is going to feel better. Everybody's going to be at ease if this takes place. It's not that big of a deal, but it's also about caring for that child too, and understanding where they are with their age and understanding the value of that stuffed puppy to that child.
Exactly. And I feel like if we start in that place, that we look at what is valuable, them, what they care about, what they're thinking, what they're going through, and just making that connection, that eye to eye. Every child that comes here, I get on my knees and I look them in the eyes, and I tell them, maybe not in these specific words, it might be, how are you feeling today? What's your favorite color? What did you have for breakfast? What do you want to do today? But what I'm saying to them is, you're valuable, and I see you, and I'm here for you, and I care about you, and you can always come and talk to me.
And that's where we need to be across the board with everybody. I mean, our world would be a much different place if we could see that and understand, hey, I do see you. And there's something to be said about, I see you. I'm seeing you. Yeah. I'm listening to you. I'm connecting with you. I see your value.
Right, even as adults, right?
Exactly. I mean, you think about it. I mean, it's amazing how much just that alone, if we were to be able to, push that out in mainstream, how much different our society would be across the board because people would realize, hey, we might not always agree, with everything. We might not always see everything the exact same, but I see your value and you see my value.
Yes, that's huge. And what a better place to start than here with these kids, and to teach them that this is what a relationship should look like.
And that's the fundamental foundation, and that's the key, right? That's what we're all looking for, is to have that foundation set. And I know there's a lot of people listening. A lot of you listening to the show right now say, I really wish I would have gone to a preschool like that, or I wish I could have put my kids through something like that. And and that can be challenging because you look back at what you wish that you had, and that can be challenging as well. But the good thing is that things are changing, and the fact that our kids are so important. And I'm so into seeing value and also helping kids to understand and process emotion. I'm sure that you see, children that might be dealing with, being overwhelmed or anxious. And I'm sure you see that in the preschool.
We do. We see it all the time. So you definitely see it a lot when kids start school, right? You see that from the kids and the parents. But families go through things. Life happens to everybody, and even the kids. And it's harder with them because they don't always know how to process it. They don't even know what it is that they're feeling. And so they may act out, or they may withdraw, or they may cry or not eat. It shows up in a variety of ways. But one of the things that we do is just in that connection and paying attention to what does their face look like? How are they acting? Are they acting normal? What is happening? Communicating with the kids is key.
It is, and communication is key, and understanding how to process that emotion. And that's something I really want to talk about more later on in the show. Is that being an adult, we've all had to go through a lot of extensive situations, especially in the last few years. And I think Jeanette, you would agree with me in the fact that this entire COVID situation has even impacted the human race and everybody so much. And a lot of times we think about how it affects us as adults, but we don't realize how some of that stress or that anxiety would affect our kids as well.
Right, and they're very real people. They just don't know how to express their emotions. And so when we communicate with them and we talk about how we're feeling and we model how that looks and help them, then they learn how to do it, because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you haven't learned.
That's so true. And we're going to be talking more about that, so don't change the channel. Jeanette's going to be here the entire hour. We're going to be discussing the entire book as well, going through the process of that, the muses, the whole concept and the reason for that, because the book is great, and understanding a little more about purpose and where we are, and then also the processing of emotions, and also how this book probably encourages children as well, but also encourages conversation and communication between the children and their family. And that's what's so powerful, because we all learn together. And this book is not just a children's book, it's also an adult's book, and so we can also share that with our kids and that experience. So stay tuned. Live Your True Life Perspectives with me, your host, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives. Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Jeanette Crystal Bradley is here. She's the children's writer, The First 12 Days of Preschool. She's an amazing children's author that has really shined some light on not only the communication that's so key, especially in the preschool ages, but also just being able to open that communication. And, Jeanette, right before the break, we were talking about processing emotion. Let's talk more about that. So when we see that trickle-down effect of, a stressful environment, what's going on, but also, we've had the COVID situation. I think nowadays more than ever, communicating with our kids is key. But being able to process that, especially in preschool, to be able to identify what they're going through. And I think if we're able to do that, they're able to process that or understand themselves more.
Right, and we talked about like how to model that, right? So we want to model that for children. Truthfully, some parents struggle with that as well, but we can start in the simplest space, which is, if you're feeling anxious about something or if you're afraid of something, when you're communicating, you can use some words like sad or happy so that the kids begin to understand what that looks like, and it helps them to learn to process it, understand the feelings, because if they're feeling frustrated but they can't label it, then they aren't sure how to walk through that. They just know that they're going to act out because they feel a certain way. So if we model that for them and say, oh, I'm so happy today, this is what happened, or I'm excited today because I waited all day to see you, then it helps them to be able to start using those words and working through how they're feeling as well.
And I know that right now school is back in session, right? So school has started again. And it's in full swing. So, how, when kids first show up to preschool, I'm sure you have some kids that just enjoy it and love it. But do you have some children that are just really super, super scared or super anxious or super overwhelmed?
Well, for most children, when they start a new place, we have to think about when we're starting a new job, we know we're starting the job. We chose the job. We know what we're going to do, but we don't necessarily know exactly how it's going to work or who we're going to work with. And so we're a little anxious. Well, it's like that times 10. So they don't always know what to expect. They're with strangers. They don't always understand the big picture. And so we have to be very involved in explaining to them why you're here, what you're going to do, what is this going to look like. And when you get to meet the teacher, some friends, see what the classroom looks like, that's going to be a really big help. So I always invite the students to come a couple times before and visit, spend time with everybody, and then watch the music video, because those are the friends and the teachers in the classroom that they're going to get to see. And all of that, knowing about it, communicating, talking through it, knowing what you're going to expect, even me telling the kids what we're going to have for lunch, it all helps them to be less anxious.
Jeanette, I bet in the beginning the kids are stressed, but I bet they calm down pretty quickly, and then you have to probably calm the parents down over a longer period of time.
This is true. So I always say that, half of what we do is to care for the kids, and the other half of what we do is to care for the parents. And so my parents have my cell phone number, and especially like our little baby that just started a few weeks ago, I send mom pictures throughout the day, and I always invite them to contact me, if they're anxious. But communication, again, with the parents is key. Let them know what's happening, how their kids are doing every day.
Powerful. So when we return, we'll be deep diving into the first 12 days of preschool and walking through this. It's a amazing children's book, but it's not just a children's book. It's also for us. It's also for adults, and it's also a great book to read with your kids to really open up those lines of communication. And it's about experiencing things together, and those experiences together is what brings us together and creates those bonding moments. Where we can bond with one another, which is so powerful. So stay tuned. We'll be walking through the book here, and we'll be talking about that, also about the mission of this, and then the book and basically those results of that book, and kids being able to enjoy themselves as well as their parents. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's show, we've been talking to Jeanette. She is the creator, the writer of the first 12 days of preschool. And it's a great book. And I want to deep dive right now, Jeanette, into the book because I love it. And I want to ask you a few questions. First of all, I love it. You've already gotten some awards with this book. It's already gotten all kinds of stickers and awards, and Creative Child Magazine Award. You got a Telly Award. You have a Reader's Favorite Award. I mean, this is amazing. So this book is pretty well read and rewarded as well.
Yes, it's been an incredible journey so far. We wrote it 1 year ago, and the Spanish version is coming out very soon. We did win 7 Telly Awards for our music video. It's incredible.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm a big fan of the Telly Awards too. I like that organization a lot. So when I'm looking at the book, tell me more. The one thing that really gets my attention is the octopus. Tell me more about the octopus.
So the octopus is definitely one of my favorites. So this is day 11, how to write my letters. And so you picture this octopus, and he has several pencils in his hands trying to learn how to write his letters. And so I thought, this is just super fun. And also, I love this day because those are my 2 sons. So the boy on the right, that's Brandon. He's the one that I built the school for. And then my middle child on the left, that's Nicholas. And they're both learning how to write in this picture as well.
I love that. Yeah, I love the octopus. And I love the carpet, the little rug that you have on one of these pictures too, with the sun and the planets. I like that. And in the background, you can see the days of the week and the spring and summer, and so we're learning how to count. I like that. So the counting is interesting. And so when a kid begins to learn how to count, when you have a child that's beginning to learn, I mean, do they start? What does that do for the child's inner self? Is that like building success? What do you feel that's creating?
Well, I feel like what you're talking about is one of the things that a lot of people don't think about when they're bringing their kids to preschool. And so one of the big things that we work on is their confidence. And so when they leave here, they are so ready for kindergarten, and they're confident, and they're not going to be the ones that never raise their hands because they know what they know and they're sure of it. So this is a big deal. And we teach them how to count in a variety of ways, whether it's lining up or looking at numbers or counting shapes. There's all different fun ways that we can teach them to count, as well as all the other things that they learn. But confidence is huge, and preschool is what helps them build that confidence in a great way.
I love that. And building confidence and yes, and believing in oneself. I think all that too, being able to count is definitely one. I like also the concept of, on the 4th day, my teacher taught me to be kind to others. Yes.
And that's one of the things that we teach them here. Like, we value every person, and we teach them not only to value others, but we teach them to value themselves. And usually when they value themselves, they value others. It's funny. It's kind of reverse logic, right? But we model that. I think it's really important. Back again, talking about modeling, parents modeling for their children. So when I ask my students to raise their hand or to say please or to say thank you, I'm doing that. But we have respect for other people. We have respect for their feelings, their space, and even our things in our classroom.
I like that, and being able to see that value, be able to understand that, because it's true. It's like being able to learn that is so important. You don't really see how important that is, but it really is creating like the building blocks of how we live our life.
It's true, because when we learn that, that's our foundation as children. We carry those things, like to value and respect other people, even into when we're adults. And we talked about the confidence. And the first 5 years are the most formational and the most educational. They learn how to trust people. They learn relationships. They learn listening and respecting, and they learn how to learn. And so when you have a really good foundation in those early years, that's what takes you all the way through the rest of your life. College, you learn how to learn, right? So you want to learn, you value it, you think it's important, and so you make it a priority and you care about it. That goes with you for years.
I love the cat, and I love the koala, by the way.
Those are so fun. Another one of my favorites is day 10, clean up all my messes, because that's my youngest son, Austin, in there. And the mouse is helping him hold the dustpan. And then we have the giraffe who's cleaning off the board, the blackboard. So it's just a super fun environment.
I love that, and animals are so important. The value of animals, and kids to understand how valuable animals are is really important too, and that's something that I think really needs to be put into education.
Right, I agree, and I think that this book was done so well by my illustrator. I can't take credit for it. She did such a good job with intertwining the two, and I agree with you. It does show, not only the value and importance of children, but animals as well. That's a big deal. And so they're learning that. They're learning to love animals and to be kind to animals. And you said, day 4, be kind to others. And that's my grandson, Jackson, hugging his dog, Nugget.
Oh, that's adorable. That's adorable.
So one of the things that I really love about this is the way that it teaches in different mediums. So you have the ones who visual learners like myself. So you have the book, and then you have the music and the song. And so we did all the days. We made different movements that go with those. And so it's triggering like all different kinds of emotions when you're watching it and reading it and listening to it. And so we can reach such a large group of people. Everybody can connect with this book and the music and the video in some way.
I like that. And I also like on the book too, I like how in the background, on all the background, there's like the little pictures of, like, for example, the books in the bookcase. You can read the title of the book. I like how you have like the colors of the paint, and you can see the colors, you can see the words written out. So it's also educational in the fact that you can see those things as well.
Yes, just another way to let them see it so they're learning it.
I like that, and I like the working together concept too. Is like play, learn, and grow. I think that's when we all come together and kind of work together for something. That's powerful too. When we start learning how we can work together and trust other people in getting a job done or working on something.
Right, and this big block thing that they're building, it's bigger because they're working on it together.
Because otherwise it would be smaller. And I like that. And I like the colors and connecting with colors and kids being able to be creative.
Right. And the book really is, with the colors, like you were saying, it's so bright and catchy and just fun. You just want to go into this world, right? And we actually, when we bought our preschool a couple months ago, we're painting pictures from the book on the walls. And it's just coming to life. So it's like the first 12 days of preschool world. It's super fun.
That's awesome. It'll be great for kids. It's about the environment too. It's the environment for learning and growing and comfortability. But I love it. I love how the animals interact with the kids. That's what I love about this book. I think it's great.
Thank you. And so day 6 is look without touching. And so we have the giraffe and the rabbit. And so the giraffe is going to feed the fish. And now these are real characters, Diesel the turtle and Larry the fish. But it's so fun because you have the giraffe that's going to feed the fish. And then you have the rabbit looking, and then the sweet girl, and she's looking without touching. And that's one of the things that we work hard to teach the kids here.
That's a good thing, though. They have to learn that. It's like learning. Don't tap on the glass. Don't touch. They have the right to have their own domain as well. Yeah, I like that, and I like that, their own autonomy. I think the book is well done, and I like how the kids are they're learning and doing things, and they're in connection, and there's this community. So tell me, we were talking a little bit earlier, before the show, and you had said that y'all were also involved and kind of involved with a charitable organization, a foundation. Tell me more about that.
Yes, so we have partnered with the Olivia Hudson Foundation, and they fund pediatric brain cancer research. They help families in financial need, and they partner with Children's Hospital here in San Diego. And through that foundation, we were able to donate books to children's hospitals. We want to bring joy to all the kids. And so right now we have just been able to do that in San Diego, but we want to expand that across the United States and honestly around the world. Like, we want the joy that comes from this book to impact children everywhere, but especially those who are in the hospital that need that. So, St. Jude's or any of the hospitals, I would love to be connected with people so we can just give books to them.
That's powerful, being able to connect with kids, especially in hospitals, and be able to raise their spirits.
Yes, and so just to be able to get away from the reality and what they're facing that's hard, and just have those moments, like as adults, a lot of people will go to the movies, and that just gives them a break. They get away for a couple hours, and so this book allows them, with the song and the music, just take a break, just get away and look at the fun things and laugh and look at, you were talking about day 5 with this koala bear. He says, be anything I want to be, and they can. Just being able to go to that space and dream and get away from that hard moment for a little bit, it just helps. It brings joy. It calms them down, makes them happy, and honestly, I feel like it makes that space better for them.
And you're right, just being able, and when you're dealing with an illness like that, and I totally understand that situation, it's, just trying to be able to walk away from that for a moment. I mean, it's still there, but being able to walk into a situation or get into this book and really appreciate that, and being able to just feel a little lighter for a little bit. Right, and even, relieve some of that stress. So I encourage the parents, watch the video, learn the moves, do it with your kids. That's a great idea. I love that. The 5 on the 5th day of preschool, my teacher taught me I could be anything I want to be, and that's powerful right there. And I think that we need to really explore that, when it comes to education in children, because I do feel like to some degree we don't have that. And I think a lot of people growing up, and many of you listening to the show right now, maybe mom or dad said what you had to be or something that you couldn't be, and how that impacted you. And I think being able to open up with this and have kids realize, wow, sky, there is no limit. That's right. I always say shoot beyond the stars, right? So the stars are not the limit. The sky is not the limit. You just go and go. Like, you set your mind to what it is. And then we talked about earlier, like, that's the foundation that you work from. And then you move backwards. This is my goal. How do I get there? And then you just focus on what are the steps to get there. And so I love to teach the kids, you can do anything you want to do. We had our graduation here yesterday for my kids going off to kindergarten, and I try to say bye to every single one of them. And I get on my knees and I look them in the eyes and I say, I am so proud of you. You can do anything you want to do. You are going to be successful. You are going to do a good job. And when you get there, you come back and you tell me about it, because I'm so proud of you. I love that. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Where do we find the book? Where can we get a copy of this book? You can get it on Amazon. Just look up Jeanette Crystal Bradley in books, and it'll pop right up. Okay, so on Amazon. And then also yes, and so you can watch the video on YouTube, Jeanette Crystal Bradley. And we'll put all those links, too, in the description here on the podcast. So for everybody listening, we'll make sure that those are obviously on the radio live. We can't do that for you, but we can on the podcast. But, the thing is, we'll have all that information. But I don't want anybody to change the channel. And don't turn off the podcast if you're listening to the podcast. Because right now, Jeanette is going to come back and give us her words of wisdom, her golden nuggets. Those golden nuggets of wisdom that she wants to share with us. things that are important to her that she wants us to hear. So stay tuned. Live Your True Life Perspectives with me, your host, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
Get in here. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. We've had an excellent conversation with children's author, and it's not just a children's book, it's also for adults, The First 12 Days of Preschool, and reading it together is so powerful. Jeanette Crystal Bradley. Jeanette, okay, this is the time where I got to ask you. I'm not putting you on the hot seat, but I want to know, some golden nuggets of wisdom. Share with us some things that we might not have discussed that you want to share with the Live Your True Life Perspectives audience.
Well, I think when we talked about earlier, my passion for the kids and my passion for preschool initially stemmed from my need to put my son in preschool and just being faced with that dilemma. And so what I've learned over the past 25 years is that one of the reasons that I feel so strongly about teaching kids their value and their worth and that they truly are special is because I didn't grow up believing that about myself. And so it's so important to teach them at this age that they really are. And had I known at this age what I know now, things would have been different. But I'm in this place because I didn't know what I know now. So now I get to do this and be so passionate about it. So what I want to say is it's okay. We're going to make mistakes. We are. It just is a fact. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to wish we had done things differently. But when you get to a place where you can learn from that mistake, that's a better place to be. And be kind to yourself and forgive yourself and learn from that and just move forward. So that's the message. Be kind to yourself and forgive yourself. It's going to be okay.
Powerful. Being kind to yourself, forgiving yourself, and I agree. And you're right. In order for you to be here, for you to have created what you've created, you had to come from that position.
That's right. And so when we're able to just say, okay, we're in this place now, and how can we best move forward? So these are teachable moments. This goes back to the modeling when we talk about how we're living as an example for our kids when they make a mistake. I have a parent, she was making cupcakes with her son. They filled up the tin. He went to put it in the oven, and he spilled it, and it dumped all over the oven. And how would we react in that moment? Typically, somebody would say, "What's the matter with you? Can't you do anything right?" So is that going to matter in 10 years? What you say will, the cupcakes won't. Mm-hmm. And so what she did, and I'll never forget her telling me this, was she said, "It's okay, son. Go to your room, take a break, I'll clean it up, and we'll start over." And what she taught him was, we're going to make mistakes, but it's okay. You're still valuable. I still love you, and it's going to be okay. We just learn from it. And it's in those moments, those little teachable moments. What are you saying? What are you saying to your child? You're not valuable? You're not worth it? You're dumb? What are you saying? So take a breath. It's going to be okay.
That's powerful. And you're right. The cupcakes don't matter. And it's interesting. Sometimes we say things that we don't mean, and we can't. And it's really hard to take. We can take it back or try to take it back, but the impact that it had can't be taken back.
We really can't, right? Because they don't forget it. They may stuff it, mm-hmm. but it's still there. And it comes out later. And we're teaching them this is how you treat other people, and this is how you treat yourself. Powerful.
Well, you're gonna have to come back on the show another time, Jeanette. So you're gonna come back on.
I would absolutely love to.
This is great, and the first 12 days of preschool is out on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon. Just go to Jeanette Crystal Bradley. And the book is illustrated by Anna Fox, and it's great illustrations, so it's amazing. You've been wonderful to have on. Thank you so much for coming on Live Your True Life Perspectives.
Thank you again.
And for everybody out there listening here on Live Your True Life Perspectives, I mean, this book is about communicating with your kids and having that communication, but it's awesome because it's about the foundations. It's about showing that you matter and that other people care about you and you're valuable. And that's what we all want to hear. We all want to feel supported. We all want to have that connection. And we ultimately all want to feel that love. And somehow or not, we have to work to find our own unconditional self-love. And that's something that we can only work on ourselves. And we can start it as early as possible. And I think this is a powerful book to helping kids be able to do that. And I think this message is not only powerful, it's a good message, and it's a message of hope because it's also helping us build up these children because this is who they really are. They truly are valuable. Stay tuned. We'll be back next week with a new show and Live Your True Life Perspectives with me, your host, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time in 3 shakes.